All right, number 8 is a circle graph. And on our reference material, we wrote down our proportions for percent proportion that we're going to need for this circle graph. Okay, so we're going to need part to whole is equal to percent out of 100. So the circle graph shows Alan's activities during 24 hours. So here's his activities, here's his percentages. How much more time, that means I'm going to have to subtract. How much more time in hours did Alan spend listening to music than playing tennis? Okay, so music is 12% and tennis is 10%. That is not in hours, that's in percent. So that's why I'm going to need my percent proportion to put that into hours. Okay, so I want to know what part of 24 hours is the 12% of music. So this will be my X, and I cross multiply. All right, so I have 100X is equal to 24 times 12. 24 times 12 is 288. So I have 100X is equal to 288. Divide both sides by 100. And since I'm dividing by 100, this is just a matter of moving the decimal place. So this is going to be 2.88 hours for the music. Okay, and then I need to know for tennis. Tennis is 10%. Well, you probably can do that in your head, but we want to know what part of 24 is 10%. So that's 10 out of 100. So that's going to be 100 times X and 24 times 10. So 100X is 240 divided by 100. And then divided by 100, I'm just moving my decimal 2 places. So that's going to be 2.4 hours. All right, so I've got my 2.88 hours and my 2.4 hours, and I'm going to have to subtract. And I'm lining up my decimals when I subtract. And I get 48 hundredths of an hour, which is G. So this is how math is involved when you're in 7th grade. You can't just subtract these two numbers. That's not what we're doing, okay? You have to take the percentages, make it into hours, then subtract. Okay, number 9. A boat traveled 27 miles in 2 hours. At this rate, how many miles will the boat travel in half an hour? Okay, couple different ways you can think about this. You can make a T-chart and just have some common sense with our miles and our hours. Okay, if it's 27 miles for 2 hours, well, I can half that to get for 1 hour. And 27 divided by 2 is going to be, add a decimal and a 0, bring your 0 down, is going to be 13 and a half. All right, so all I did was just half it to get an hour. To get to half an hour, I would just half it again. All right, so 13.5 divided by 2, it's going to go in there 6 times. It's going to go in there 7 times, add a 0. Okay, so that would be 675. So for half an hour, it'd be 6.75, which is the same thing as 6 3/4. All right, but if you think about it, for 2 hours is 27. So for half an hour, 24 is way too big. Okay, the 13 just divided it in half, which was for 1 hour. So really, if you were going to guess, you would be somewhere between G and H. But if you just keep halving it, you're going to get to the 6.75, which is G. All right, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just with a proportion, okay, where you have your miles and your hours, and that's 27 miles for 2 hours. And how many miles would be in half an hour? So you can write it as a decimal or as a fraction. Cross multiply. 2x is equal to 27 times that half. 27 times the half is 13.5. Divide both sides by 2. And 13.5 divided by 2 is still at 6.75. Either way gets you there. All right, number 10. Elena drew a model of a square pyramid. The dimensions of the model are shown in the diagram. What is the volume of Elena's model in cubic centimeters? Okay, so in our handy dandy reference material, to find volume of a pyramid, because this is a pyramid, it is 1/3 big BH. Big B is the area of the base. This is a square base. Okay, so to find the area of a square, that's also a rectangle. So that's base times height. So to find the area of the base is base times height, and then I multiply that by the height of the pyramid. Okay, so the base is this square. Because it's a square pyramid, it has a square base. Okay, so that's 10 times 10. Which is 100. And then I multiply it by the height of the pyramid, which is 12. And I still have to take 1/3 of it. So 12 times 100 is 1200. And times 1/3 of that is the same thing as dividing by 3. So 1200 divided by 3. 3 goes into 12 400. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Subtract, bring down, gives me a 0. Bring down, gives me a 0. So it's going to go and be 400 centimeters cubed. So I find the area of the base, which is 100, multiply it by the height of 12, and then I divide by 3 to get my 1/3.